Well, good afternoon, everybody. This is Celeste Carmichael from Cooperative Extension Administration, and I want to welcome you to the last of our series for 2013 and 2014 on building campus-county connections. The title of this webinar is Raising the Bar, Getting Youth Engaged in the Environment. So we're going to be talking a lot about some 4-H programs and some resources and opportunities that have implications for both on campus and off campus. We're really excited to have the program here today. Many of you have probably joined us before for a Campus County Connection webinar, but the whole idea is that you may be learning about something that maybe it reiterates what you're doing back in the county or within research or program here on campus to integrate cooperative extension and research programs. But if you're not familiar with it, you know, the idea is just to kind of build some peripheral knowledge or understanding about some programs that are happening and some things that are happening in a very vital way, connecting cooperative extension in the counties and the resources of cooperative extension with research and programs that happen at the university and the other land-grant systems. So we're really happy to have you here today. So I'm going to essentially turn the program over to John Bowe, who is going to be facilitating for us today. And I want to invite you to do a couple of things. If you're new to WebEx, know that everybody is muted as they're coming on board. However, you have the opportunity to interact in a few different ways. One is through chat. So you'll see a little chat box on the right-hand side of your screen. I want to encourage you to set it to send to all participants, which means that as you have ideas, you're going to be sharing it with everybody that's on the webinar today. We are recording, so this webinar will be posted for others to see, and the chat will be, you know, recorded just for follow-up if there's some things to follow up. I'm in 363 Roberts Hall here on campus, and I have with me, well, just so you know, that it's a real place, you know, here on campus. I said the wrong room number? Oh, I'm in 376. Oh, there you go. I'm in 376, right. Nancy Schaff is here with me, as well as Chip Malone. So you can participate by chat, and also there'll be several polls. So we hope that you'll participate in the polls as well. So with that, I'm going to turn the program over to John.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me?
We can hear you well.
Excellent. So hopefully everyone is enjoying a beautiful day like it is here in Warrensburg. We've had 75-degree weather with a light breeze, so it's been outstanding weather for environmental field days, which we had today. And I've been asked to help facilitate this program on environmental education. And the wonderful thing about environmental education, it can be delivered in a variety of different program styles. Today we have examples of special interest, nature center-based programming, and citizen science-based programming. And I will focus today on special interest. And if we want to go into the first poll, we'd kind of like to know what each and every participant actually does for Cornell Cooperative Extension, or if you're from outside Cornell Cooperative Extension, so we can help address your questions later on. So if you take a couple minutes to participate in our poll.
What is the connection? Will they ask for me?
So, and if you don't fit into any of the categories, you can answer other and maybe add that role into the chat. All right, so it looks like everybody, just about everybody has responded. I'm going to close the poll down. It's going to give you a couple more seconds. And we'll share that back. Can you see that, John?
Yes. So most of our participants, 53%, are 4-H educators. That's great. We have a 4-H volunteer. Excellent. A number of campus partners. That's good. No executive directors, no community partners. Other CCE educators. We have a couple of those. A couple no answers and one other. So that's excellent. We have a nice diversity there. We do have another question for you, again, to help us answer your questions. And we'd like to know how you're delivering the environmental education to youth in your community. So if we could take a couple minutes to answer that poll. Remember that this is doing most of your programming, so pick one that you focus most of your programming on.
So you guys are going to see that we've used a few polls throughout, so I encourage you to participate and just keep it as so that we know a little bit about what you're thinking, and you also have an opportunity to share interests and needs. So I'm going to close this poll down. You still have a couple more seconds to respond if you haven't.
And remember that I told Celeste to pull you if you don't answer the poll, so well worth it.
Okay, so there you go.
Wow.
You can see.
Pretty even.
Pretty evenly distributed over all of these groups. That's excellent. So we have camps, school enrichment, after school, clubs, no answer, other, nature centers. We have a couple nature centers and a couple special interests. Excellent. All right. So our agenda for today is, why do we engage youth in the environment? And then we have 3 specific examples. As some of you are probably aware, there is a book out, Last Child in the Woods. And then he has another newer version of that book, which caused quite an interest in environmental education. And some of the focus of that research and compilation of data was, what are the benefits these kids get from being outdoors? And I believe there was a parapsychologist from Cornell University whose research was reported in that book, showing that even youth who have access to a window that shows a green space in their classroom are more likely to be able to focus and pick up information at an easier level than if they were to have no access to green space. So obviously, even a limited amount of green space, even if it's not direct physical contact, makes a positive impact. All right. So the example I'm using today is the 4-H Adirondack Guides. The 4-H Adirondack Guides have existed here in Warren County for more than 20 years. This is a special interest program where the youth are 12 to 18, and it is a fairly intense program, but at the same time more relaxed than a traditional club program. We meet about once every 4 to 6 weeks, primarily between February and November, and then we are pretty quiet during December, January, and then again starting up in February. And our program is broken into multiple levels. So we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced guides. And I'll show you later on that we did some evaluation of the program, and we were actually asked by our guides to create an even more difficult level. So we now have advanced level 2. The program being special interest, we offer it to youth from Warren, Washington, and Saratoga County. but it is open to any youth. We've had youth as far away as Putnam County, Clinton County, Essex County. Trying to think the farthest west, I believe, was someone from Fulton, Montgomery County. So typically we get Warren, Washington, and Saratoga, but we also pick up here or there youth from quite a ways away. We've had some traveling as much as 3 to 4 hours to come participate in some of our programming. The nice thing about having a regional effort is because it is so specific to natural resources and environmental education, the number of youth who are truly interested in going that next step is somewhat limited, but by doing this regional programming effort, we certainly get a strong number. We had 9 new youth enrolled this year, and I'll show you a photo of them a little later on. So some of the life skills that can be used in the outdoors or in a variety of careers that we utilize in the Adirondack Guide program include knot tying, water safety, and if anybody from PW Wood's on the phone, those kids are wearing life jackets. You can only see their hands, but they do have life jackets on. And then relaxing in the woods. One of the things that we found is, we need to get the kids to settle down, socialize, get the socialization out, and be able to just spend some time listening and hearing what's actually going on around them. Because oftentimes in a social environment where these kids only see each other once every 4 to 6 weeks, because they are from such a large area, oftentimes they'll be talking a lot to get caught up with one another. And they're missing things that are going on, bird calls, maybe an animal running past. So if we get them to relax a little bit and pay a little bit more attention, they pick up so much more. And they also, I think, decompress a lot more when they spend that extra few minutes just relaxing. So we focused on knot tying, variety of different safety, including water safety, including wilderness survival to some extent, identifying trees, identifying birds, identifying wildlife, and identifying fish. And these youth are tested in a verbal and written format every year to move into their particular level. So to become a true beginner guide, they actually have to complete a written test as well as a verbal test and do some practical hands-on applications. So these are just 3 examples of some of the life skills that we're working on. All of our guides are required to do public presentations as well, and we encourage them to do a community service either at our fair or to attend the New York State Fair. So many of the youth that you've seen at our booth at the New York State Fair have been Adirondack Guides. And how does this connect to the campus? We took the guide program because it has been successful, and we wondered if other people would be interested. We'd had a number of inquiries from other counties, and to the point that, well, maybe we need to take this a little bit more seriously and see if this is a model that we can develop into either a set of guidelines or an actual curriculum for people to follow. There's a lot of great curriculum out there, but not all of it is focused specifically on a particular state. So we took this model, spoke with Nigel about, is there a way that we could model this, market this to other counties to be replicated? And he said, well, let me think about that. And I don't know, 4 weeks later he called back, and he had run into Dr. Kassam from the Department of Natural Resources while out on a walk on campus. They got talking about this particular program. So we contacted Dr. Kassam, sat down with him and with Nigel, and worked out a Smith-Lever grant proposal to not only work on this as a potential model, but to also update some of the Department of Natural Resource curriculum that's been outdated for 10, 20, or even more years from Cornell. So this is kind of a two-phase project, the first of which is to identify the Cornell curriculum that's already written and update that, which is probably going to be a 2-year plan, and then eventually to develop this either as a specific replicable example or to develop this into a curriculum that anyone could use. That's probably 3 or 4 years down the road. So that's how we've connected this to the campus.
So John, while you were talking, I had asked in the chat, and I'll ask if anybody else has some thoughts. Is anybody else doing a guide-type program or something that's really focused on spending time in the outdoors, building on the knot skills or water safety or relaxing in the woods, or perhaps has another contact on campus that they're using? And Linda Broche had indicated that at one time there was a guide-type program in Oswego, and I'm sure she's going to talk. She may talk more about that during her slides. And they have equipment that gets loaned out to other counties. So not sure, I mean, even though the title of your program has Adirondacks in it, it seems like there's implications and there's certainly some applicability that, you know, regardless of where you are, spending time in the outdoors. So I don't know if you've talked about that as you're considering how to create a more formalized curriculum or not.
We have considered it, and probably a better name would be the New York State 4-H Guide Program.
Okay.
Essentially, the Adirondack Guides were created from the New York State License Guide model, which is for adults over 18 to become an actual licensed guide for fishing or hunting, canoeing, hiking, camping through the DEC. So that has been the model that was used for this program, but this is primarily focused on youth development and utilizing the outdoors as a tool.
Gotcha.
As far as any other people using it currently, St. Lawrence County is introducing a model similar to ours, but slightly different in its delivery. Their kids will actually be hiking out and camping for a week at a time, and then returning and taking a week of either fishing or shooting sports, and then I think doing a third week of something else. So they'll do it in 3 intense weeks, but similar style to ours, but in a different delivery mode. So related to camps, but not directly.
Gotcha.
And then we've had inquiries from Ingrid down in Orange County about possibly sending out something similar. So yes, don't be put off by the Adirondack in the name. We just happen to be the gateway to the Adirondacks here in Warren County, so that name is kind of stuck with us. Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay. Then I will move on to the next slide. Some of the success we're currently having with the 4-H guide program is cross-promotion. And in our county, of course, 4-H shooting sports is also a significant program, as well as our environmental education and environmental field days, all of which happen as school enrichment programs. So today, when we had 140 fifth graders who were right at that 11, 12 years old, in our presence, we certainly plugged the 4-H Adirondack Guide program for those who are interested in going above and beyond what they're learning in school and more of a hands-on approach to it. We have had tremendous success promoting the 2 programs, shooting sports and the guides. And I think if you talk to some of the staff who were here previously, they kind of consider shooting sports a competition with the guides, and we don't consider it that at all. We consider it a complementary program. A number of our guides will never hunt, never fish, never trap, and that's perfectly okay. We don't mind that at all. We have a couple of vegetarians even in our group, which is always interesting when you're out camping, trying to determine what to cook. But at the same time, you know, we have a tremendous number of youth coming into the guides from shooting sports. So as you can see on these two photos, which are connected by the arrow, the retired DEC forest ranger on the left, who is teaching map and compass, is also a 4-H shooting sports instructor. And his skill set falls into both of those categories very, very well. He was also a firearms instructor for the DEC. That has led to 66% of the new guides. You can see that there's 9 of them there, and 6 of those actually came through the shooting sports program before they got to the guides. So we have quite a few youth being recruited out of shooting sports and into the guides, which is excellent. And certainly whenever we have members of the guides who are not shooting sports, we let them know, you know, that is an optional program that they can take. Archery is often the most popular. It just seems to have a more publicly acceptable perspective at this point. So we do tend to get some members of the guides taking even archery. So our cross-promotion of programs, and this is just one example. We do this with a lot of our different programs, but certainly the cross-promotion and the word-of-mouth promotion at hunter education classes, at 4-H shooting sports classes, helps. The map and compass course on the left is open to any youth in 4-H. They don't have to be a member of the guide. So that program is open to a variety of different people. So it certainly has benefited us to cross-promote specifically this program, but as well as any of our 4-H programs.
John, I have a question. This is Chip Malone. Yep. Size and scope of the training that's needed, especially since you invite people quite far outside the core district. How many times do they meet and how many hours? And maybe you said that already and I didn't pick it up. But
they will meet on an average about 6 to 8 times during the year, and the total number of hours is over 40. If they take all of the programs, they're probably going to be close to 60.
A typical meeting would be a one all-day meeting training?
Sometimes our orientation, for example, is about 2 hours in February. We have a winter camping trip very shortly thereafter. We have a couple of activities during spring break, and then we have an early summer, late spring camping trip for beginners. And then we have an open camping trip in July. We'll usually have of course, public presentations falls in there in March. So by the time they get to the training or the actual testing weekend in October, they've probably taken 30 to 40 hours of training.
Thank you.
It's
so
pretty
Don,
informal. Go ahead.
I'm just going to encourage you to kind of move through this section. Just
okay.
Time check. It's 3:24 right now, okay?
All right, so we will move on to the next slide. I won't read all of this to you. What do our youth get from the program? We did an evaluation, rather intense evaluation of what they were getting, and I'll just highlight one of these, and that was the navigational skills. That is taught by that former forest ranger that you saw in the previous picture. If you look, it says neutral, agree, and strongly agree. There's no disagree or strongly disagree because there was no responses there. I just simply left them out of the responses. So obviously they are picking up some skills. So we're going to ask you, what are your best practices for marketing your environmental education program? And we'll ask you to fill out this poll.
Okay, and this one is an open-ended. You can type anything you'd like to in there. And while you're doing that, we're actually going to move on. And we'll move, I'm going to pass the ball on to Linda Broche. And unmute you, Linda.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see so many people on our webinar. I'm Linda Broche. I'm here in Oswego County.
Oh, sorry about that, John. I skipped over your last slide.
That's okay. They can look at that and just determine if they want to call me.
He has a great blog that you can get more information on. And if you don't remember the blog, you can email John, jfb32@cornell.edu.
Right.
So this is me. I've been here in Oswego County as the 4-H team coordinator for 15 years. I started here as a natural resource educator because in Oswego County, we have the Amboy 4-H Environmental Education Center. So for a few minutes, I'm going to talk about how 4-H can connect with nature centers or similar entities to help get kids outdoor and into the environment. And I have been working at nature centers for probably over 22 years. The nature centers provide numerous opportunities for learning or just simply experiencing what it's like to be outside in nature. And at the Amboy 4-H Environmental Education Center, we do a variety of these options year-round. And so you have the option for pond and stream safari, great curriculum written by Cornell Cooperative Extension, Department of Natural Resources, which really helps you guide the youth into the stream, and they help build their equipment, and then they can use this curriculum to determine if the stream is healthy or if the stream is polluted. You can also, with nature centers or environmental eds or camps, you can go and do geocaching using GPS units, map and compass reading skills, are wonderful programs that numerous entities provide throughout New York State and most likely within your own personal county. We shouldn't forget that it's equally important to get outside during the winter months. And so most of your nature centers, environmental education facilities, parks will provide opportunity for snowshoeing, cross-country skiing, potentially ice fishing. And so it really gives these youth a chance to get out of their classroom. John was doing conservation field days today. I was in the stream doing a stream safari. And, you know, with these classes that are inclusive with youth of a variety of different needs, some of these youth being outside, they're relaxed. And their challenges or the distractions that they have in the classroom aren't there, and they're able to focus and have a better day at school than what they would if they were just inside a classroom. What you'll find when we talk about some of our programming is the 4-H curriculum, the project materials that your club leaders can start and then finish up at a nature center cross the realms of what we talk about in the Youth, Nature, and Outdoor Education Program Work Team, but also with STEM. So there is that crossover that when we're doing a pond or stream safari today, a bulk of our time is just letting the kids experience how do you catch a crayfish, how do you catch a stonefly nest, how do you catch a frog, how do you touch a frog, how do you hold a frog. We do, you know, because we have to help meet the curriculum needs of the school, we do have to focus on, you know, the science terms, the STEM terms. But the other part of just experiencing is something that a lot of these kids don't get anymore because they go home from school and they go right to sports. And so with 4-H connecting to the outdoors, we do have this opportunity to do that. And we have a variety of methods to do that in 4-H, in Cooperative Extension, in New York State. And we'll get to where you can go. Your nature centers don't just do everything outdoors. They have great indoor locations. They have classrooms, so they'll help you finish your curriculum as well. On the left, this is the local 4-H club that was doing Nature Detectives, which is one of the curriculums, the citizen science curriculum provided by the Lab of Ornithology, which is a combination indoor and outdoors. And so this is one of the first activities. On the right is the fly tying. That's part of our fly fishing program we provide here. You know, so with our local partner of the New York State DNC, we do the indoor portions of the fly tying, and then we go outdoors. when he's doing the fly tying, he's not learning a lot about STEM, but when he goes outdoors and he's on the river, he's learning that that fly is connected to a real-life insect that is either metamorphosing, hatching, or it's a water one. So, who are the people you can partner with? Who are your collaborators?
So, Linda, before we go on to that, because I know that there's a poll question about collaborators too, do you want to take a peek at the responses to the last poll about marketing?
Absolutely, sure.
Okay, so
How do you do that?
Go ahead and we should be able to. Are they opening? Let's try this. There we go. You're not seeing that, are you? Are you not seeing that?
No.
So I see the question, and I only have one response after it, which was my response.
Okay, let's see.
And I see mine.
That's really strange. I wonder if it's because I'm not, all right. Because I'm not the presenter right now.
Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what they say because there's not a ton of them. But word of mouth, not much happening, word of mouth, and through the 3 schools that I work at and connect with students and parents. So those were the best practices for marketing your environmental education programs right now. Okay, and what did you add, Chip? You can just add that to the conversation.
Was it answering that question?
Mm-hmm.
I'll read it. To take advantage of other STEM technology in areas to incorporate GPS, GIS, and energy concepts for adult and volunteer regional and statewide training programs. They go hand in hand with environmental. But Nancy, Linda pointed that out very well. They incorporate it partly because they need to, and partly because it just makes sense. They go hand in hand.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's okay. Oswego County Cooperative Extension is very lucky that we have our own Environmental Education Center. And Columbia Green is also very lucky to have their own Environmental Ed Center. And some of our counties have camps, which they're very lucky where they can do a lot of environmental ed. But what if you're a county that doesn't have those entities? How do you get help experts to help you finish your curriculum that your leaders or yourself as an educator may not be comfortable doing? Well, there are wonderful entities across New York State and at Cornell that you can partner with to help you. The New York State parks, most of them, some of your larger parks, have facilities in them that provide environmental education programs. In the Thousand Islands, Minnie Anthony is part of, I just forgot the park name, but they provide it. Letchworth State Park has wonderful educators there too.
Which island was that island?
Oh, I lost my slide. Okay. It won't give me all my people. Oh, there we go. We can partner with the New York State DEC. This gentleman on the left is Fran Vertoliva. He's the Salmon Corridor Program Coordinator for the local DEC. But each DEC region has a fisheries bureau, and they have probably an educator there that can help you with your fishing programs. Or you can partner with one of our great New York State camps. You can partner with your local Oswego County Soil and Water Conservation Districts. They may have a forester. They may have an educator that can assist you in some of the water quality programs. The Nature Conservancy, the Audubon Society, your local county federation of sportsmen's clubs. And if you're looking to get a bunch of people excited about sharing the passion of the woods or fishing with youth, these individuals will help you. And if you need help finding out who they are in your county, I can probably help you find them, or John works probably very closely with his. We also have the New York State Association of Outdoor Educators. This is a group that anyone is welcome to join, and it mostly consists of nature centers throughout New York State or zoos that are providing outdoor education. Great people. When I made my slide, I only had so much space, but campus, Cornell University, has phenomenal opportunities to partner with. You're going to hear in a minute with Ileana from the Lab of Ornithology. With the Department of Natural Resources, you have the Arnott Forest. With the Department of Natural Resources, there's Shackleton Point, which does fisheries research. On campus, there's the plantations, which can focus on gardening, but a lot of that with entomology crosses over into outdoor education, and so many more with your SUNY system. What I am interested in learning about is also, this list goes on and on. So what organization are you currently working with or partnering with to help you connect youth to nature? And I ask this question because it may be you may be working with someone I never thought of, and so this could be an extra person that I tap on the shoulder. Are you working with Trout Unlimited? Are you working with ELOSA, Eastern Lake Ontario Salmon and Trout Association? Or are you in Chautauqua County and there's someone down there you're working with that I may not be aware of?
So, Linda, this is Nancy. We had one question in the chat box that asked about what was the curriculum that you mentioned. I'm not even sure now exactly what she was referencing, but were you going to show them your
I'm going to do that after the poll.
Okay.
Okay, so there is a poll up right now just asking if you have organizations or groups that you're working with currently that connect youth with nature. So if you could take a moment and just respond there, and you know, your response may be a couple of things, it may be nothing, but just take a moment and respond so that we have a little bit to hear from you. And if you're having any issues, I know that sometimes if you're calling in, if you're connecting by an iPhone or an iPad, there can be issues with the poll. So if that's the case, you can just use chat. Okay, and so Linda, do you want to go on to the next slide? Well, this is
I am. So
okay.
What I'm going to show you is this here is a PDF document that I can share. What curriculum is available by Cornell Cooperative Extension and the New York State, not Cornell Cooperative Extension, and the National 4-H Council that we can use that is 4-H. And so in Oswego County, I have a list that I provide to my 4-H club leaders of the curriculum that we have available for them. And it's extensive. It is 4 pages long, but it consists of a variety of different options. On this page right here in the front, you're going to have something called Exploring Your World. This here is National Cooperative Extension curriculum that you can purchase through the 4-H Mall. And then as you go down, you see things like Field Guides Made Easy. Well, Field Guides Made Easy was a curriculum that was written by the Department of Natural Resources in the late 80s. And so this is still available, probably through the Department of Natural Resources or in the e-library. I don't have all their information of the authors on here because my leaders don't need that information if they're asking me for it. I just provide it to them.
So Linda, this is Celeste. I'm just going to pop in for a second, just so everybody knows. If you click on File, the File tab up at the very top, there is a button that says Save Document. So if you wanted to save what you're looking at right now, you can go ahead and save that document. You can print it too. There's a little print button, so you could print the document, or if there was anything in the chat that you wanted to keep, you could print the chat as well. Okay.
Okay. So thank you. And so there's a wide option. Now, some of this curriculum was written in the 80s, and it's still pertinent to today's society. It just looks a little older. And one of my most favorite curriculum to use is Pond and Stream Safari. And there are some individuals that are working to edit and update some of the Department of Natural Resource curriculum through a Smith-Lever funding. And so that's one of them we will be working on. This is my favorite because that's what I do. That's my focus when I'm at the Nature Center. So there's good curriculum for you to do. And are all the poll questions up?
They are, and unfortunately, I'm having trouble sharing. So I'll go ahead and I'll share. I'll just verbally share what you're seeing, and then we can ship these back out to everybody just so you can see. But here were some of the responses: National and State Wildlife Refuges, the Lab of Ornithology, the National Forest, State Parks, DEC, Wild Turkey Federation, Wild Harvest Table, so that's a project also connected to the Department of Natural Resources and Cooperative Extension in Seneca County. The Million Trees Projects, which is a national 4-H project. Turtle Trail at the Cooperative Extension Office, so I think that's in Tompkins County. Audubon, SUNY Schools, DEC, Local Sportsmen's Group, another National Wild Turkey Federation, local school districts, Envirothon with soil and water conservation districts, and tapping into local naturalists as much as possible. Yeah. So, and Ileana commented that she connects with 4-H, so that's awesome. And the other one was 4-H camps and master gardeners, which is a great response there. So.
And sometimes it's looking within our own association. You know, depending on your size, there may be individuals that are working in agriculture or master gardeners that know a lot about insects, that if you're working on a Know Your Insect project or you're doing entomology, you know, those have really good classroom parts, but then to go outside and collect the insects and do an investigation, you may want to tap into people within your own office that have that expertise.
Yep. So, Linda, I'm going to ask if you could just wrap things up, and we'll pass the ball on to Nancy after that.
So, on this site, on this slide, is a listing of all the email address that has all the nature centers in New York State listed. And then I also put the link of how you can get to the New York State 4-H camps to connect with them. So, thank you very much. And now I'm going to pass the ball. I like this. Sorry. To Ileana.
To Nancy.
Actually, on to Nancy Schaff. Nancy's got the in-between slides here.
Okay, sorry. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is Nancy Schaff. I'm on campus here with Celeste and Chip. And Ileana and I are going to talk about citizen science. I'm going to try to go through my part very quickly so we give Ileana time to talk. This first slide, oops, we're not on the slide.
So you have to move it ahead because you have the ball.
I'm trying to look at my PowerPoint and the same time. Can you take?
Do you want me to?
I'm trying to do Susan. All right, can you take the ball? Yeah. I'm trying to look at notes on another document.
Oh.
So can you move it for me?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, I forgot about this. We got a poll first. So we were curious to know whether you have any experience with citizen science, if you're maybe interested in citizen science but not sure how to get started. So we just had some questions to kind of gauge interest and experience out there.
All right, and maybe you can, if you want to start talking while they're responding to that, Nancy, that would work.
So can we move to the slide?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so citizen science, if you think about 4-H in our history, this is not something that's new to us. We may not have called it citizen science, but we've been involved in real science from the very beginning. So we started out doing real science. We had young people who were doing projects that really mattered. They were important projects. They mattered to their families, to their communities, to the country. They may have been growing victory gardens. They might have been modeling some good corn growing practices that adults in the community learned from. They were connecting university research by doing things like trying new hybrid corns or something, or the girls with their canning clubs learning about safe ways to preserve food, and this made a real contribution and impact to their communities and their families. So this is not new to 4-H. And another thing that's really interesting about New York is our beginnings in New York with Liberty Hyde Bailey came out of Liberty Hyde Bailey starting nature study clubs. And this was at the turn of the 20th century, where he was trying to get kids outdoors, the same exact thing we're talking about now. He was trying to get kids outdoors, connect with nature, really experience, not be sitting in the classroom and learning about things, but being out experiencing. And that quickly grew into one of the things in this country that grew into 4-H. So we have a long history. We're really good at this. We've done it for a long time. And so we have a lot to share with other groups. And so this all connects to citizen science. So this is a picture of some people at a lab of ornithology workshop.
Oh, I'd say not just people. There's some people that we know in there, right?
We know there. Some 4-H educators at the lab of ornithology. There's Shining Rachel right in the middle. So they're all hooked together doing a food web thing. So citizen science can really bring a lot of things together. So youth are participating in real science. These are real projects that have real meaning, that impact knowledge construction. So they are building skills in how science works. They are connecting with real scientists and researchers and contributing real data. They are building an understanding of how science works and the processes of science, and also building science literacy, which is really important for everyone, no matter what kind of career they're going to be in, no matter what they're going to do. Science literacy is important for all of our citizens. So they have opportunities to work with adults in really meaningful projects, youth-adult partnerships. We, of course, are fostering positive youth development during all this skill building. And it also ties really nicely into civic engagement and our long tradition with involvement in communities. So this is ways that youth can get involved in, say, maybe a local project that's really making a difference, monitoring streams or whatever it might be. And so this is my last slide. I just want to say that just to kind of continue that idea that citizen science is a way for us to meet a lot of our goals. One way, not the only way, of course, but citizen science is a good way to meet the criteria that are in our 4-H science checklist, or STEM checklist, I guess I should have said, that we are meeting positive youth development goals, that we are modeling really good ways for adults to work with youth as co-learners and coaches and facilitators and mentors, and not always having to be that expert, that we certainly are building in experiential learning and inquiry-based learning. This learning can easily be aligned with standards. They're developing lots of different process skills. And then if you look at the statewide 4-H science logic model, or I'm sure a lot of the logic models that you have for your county programming, we certainly can meet a lot of those outcomes that we want to try to hit. And so with that, unless there's some questions, we want to look at the poll.
Yeah, I'm just going to encourage for another moment, if you can take a moment to participate in the poll. Just wondering what kind of experience or interest you've had with citizen science before. Have you participated in a lab of ornithology program before? Are you interested in getting involved in something? So just take a moment and respond to that. And in the meantime, Ileana, I have passed the ball on to you if you would like to introduce yourself and get started.
Fantastic. Thank you, Celeste. And thank you, Nancy, for your very thorough intro and covering the history and the logistics of citizen science. There's a lot going on with it, and it provides a lot of wonderful opportunities for youth to get outdoors. Are the poll answers up yet?
Yeah, they're not. It's closed, and it takes like 10 seconds to officially close it down.
Right.
So 3, 2, 1, and I'll be able to open it.
Great.
I didn't really do a very proper job of introducing you, Ileana, so you might want to make sure you let everybody know who you are.
Okay.
Sorry.
Right, I will.
There you go. That's what you can see about participation and experience.
Okay, great.
Can you see the result?
A number of people have participated in citizen science. There are 3 people who responded who are a part of the citizen science cohort that we're working with. And a couple people are interested in getting involved with citizen science. That's really wonderful to see. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Ileana Betancourt, and I work with the Bird Sleuth K-12 education program at the Cornell Lab of Ornithology in Ithaca. And a lot of the lab's mission focuses around conservation, education, and citizen science focused on birds. So a lot of the programs and resources that we have available are getting kids outside and getting them familiar with the species in their neighborhood, and getting them encouraging them to get to know their surrounding areas. So we have a lot available, and I'm going to talk about some of the specific resources that we have available that a cohort of 4-H educators around New York and also around the country are working with today. But first, I just want to mention that the really wonderful thing about what we're doing here at the lab is that we're getting kids outside and we're providing them with tools to enjoy the natural world and interpret what they're seeing around them. It's really fun. I think birds are really fun, and you can see them anywhere. And these kids are out here with their binoculars and a couple bird cards with some fun facts on it. The nice thing about birding is that it's very low cost and very low resource intensive, so you don't really need a lot to go outside and enjoy birds by yourself. So whether you're in a structured program or whether you're home, the enjoyment of birds is something you can take with you wherever you go. Another wonderful thing is that it's very multisensory. I think a really valuable part about getting outdoors, or getting kids outdoors, is that they not only are looking around, but they're also listening to what's around them, and birds are loud. They have songs and calls, and especially around this time of the year, they've been calling for their mates. So it really engages kids on all different levels. John Vo just said he used the new Birdsong Hero game, which is pretty awesome. It shows you how scientists can see sound. And I guess I could post a link to it at the end of the webinar once I'm done with my slides, because it's super fun. It's probably one of my favorite games right now. Okay. And I really like this quote in this slide and this picture of this 7th grader. The quote says, "It's fun to just be peaceful and quiet for a while and listen to birds." And as you know, middle schoolers are pretty energetic and all over the place, so I mean, getting them outside is a wonderful way to create a moment for them to be fully engaged. So he's sitting there, he's kind of taking in the surroundings, he's feeling the sun on his face, he's listening to what's around him, and he's still having a nice time. So kids like being outside. Sometimes they just need a little direction to get there, and if you give them something to do, or if you even just get them out the door, they're going in a good direction. So some of our resources work to get kids outside in those directions. And so the cohort that we've been working with has been working with a couple of our curriculums to see essentially how the kids respond to it and if it can lead into citizen science well. And one of the resources is called Nature Detectives. The first couple activities of this resource focuses on habitats. So just getting to know your habitat, getting to know the food web system, and then it goes a little deeper into birds. And the nice thing about this curriculum is that it gets kids outside. It's a standalone, so you can just take, if you just want to look at feeding birds and making your own bird feeders, then you can just do that separate from the other parts. But it's also low technology. So, I mean, when you're giving kids an experience with nature, it's really important sometimes to just, drop the technology and just get out there and enjoy it without a barrier. Although, of course, that being said, technology can also help enhance outdoor experiences, but sometimes it's just good to keep it simple. And then a couple of the resources that are in it are Scavenger Hunt and Bird Spy Bingo, and these are really simple. They're things that you could make yourself if you wanted to. And it just really encourages kids to be detectives and investigate what's around them. Oops, jumping ahead here. Over the last year, we created an additional resource to go along with Nature Detectives, which is this Quest booklet. This is available for anyone to download if they want online, and I should probably speed up a bit. I realize we're running low on time here. But it's 6 simple challenges that groups can do together individually, and it leads into citizen science. So it's kind of a supplement to Nature Detectives. And I'll send a link to this also once I get the slides. Habitat Connections is the other curriculum that folks throughout the state have been working with. And this one's a little more intensive on the technology you need access, but the cool thing about using the technology is that after you go and explore your habitats here and you learn about citizen science, then you can see how scientists actually use the information and how they see the information. So you see the visualizations, and it kind of shows you the final product of what you're working towards when you're working with citizen science. And down here they're doing a fun migration obstacle course, so showing the challenges of being a bird.
Ileana?
Yeah?
This is Celeste. I'm just going to ask you quickly, the lessons, are they intended to be how long? How long would one lesson be in nature, in 4-H Quest or in Habitat Connections?
So the quest here would probably take no more than 2 hours. It's supposed to be very simple, very easy, and very fun. I think it's fun, at least. We
2 hours lesson?
Just the whole thing. This whole thing was created to be a fast activity. Nature Detectives and Habitat Connections their lessons are anywhere from 45 to an hour and a half. So it depends on how you're implementing the lessons and how deep you're going into discussion and how much time you have even. So that's the general one. So I mean, for the first lesson, what happens is kids can draw the habitat outside. So you can tell them, all right, pretend that you're a bird, for example, flying over the backyard or this park. What would you see, and what parts of this habitat, what parts of this area provide useful habitat? So here you can see this habitat has been labeled, and it shows where the shelter and water are. It shows where a source of food is. So starting to make them kind of put them in the perspective of the bird, or think about how the habitat space is used. Oops, sorry. And Habitat Connections, it scaffolds a lot of these different citizen science projects we offer at the Lab of Ornithology. There's eBird, which is the most basic one, where people submit bird observations. And there's Feeder Watch, where folks can count birds at their feeders. The project that we've been working on with partnering with 4-H on throughout New York and also throughout the States, we've been encouraging people to move towards whatever citizen science project they want. It doesn't have to be birds, because not everyone is into birds, but of course we love it when they do birds. However, each of these projects get kids outside, investigating, analyzing what they're seeing, and thinking more about what's going on in their area. So, and one more thing I forgot to point out is that at the end of Habitat Connections, there's this conservation component. I just made a very squiggly line there. To improve your habitat. So once you've learned everything, what are you going to do with it? How can you get involved in your community to improve the nature and the outdoors for the birds and the other species in your area? So if you're interested in learning anything more about this, I encourage you to email me or visit our website. And now I'm going to pass the ball back over to Celeste.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ileana. Actually, thank you to all of you. John, well, Ileana is sharing a couple of links to websites for all these wonderful resources. Do you want to say anything to wrap things up? Well, let me unmute you.
Yes, I would. Thank you. Thanks for participating today. If you are interested, there are a number of program work teams that you can participate in. One specifically related to environmental education and youth in nature and outdoor education, which is co-chaired by Dr. Kassam and myself. But as you can see on the screen, there's a number of activities that you can get involved in. Our emails are there as well, so if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email, and we'll be glad to answer your questions as best as we can.
So, and if you're not familiar with what a program work team is, a program work team is intended to be folks that are on campus, both in either a faculty position or in a program position, and off campus folks that work within the cooperative extension system, and potentially engagement with some other stakeholders, which might be nature center folks or some of the other programs that you have indicated that you're working with. All of these entities working together around areas of interest, and so program work teams can sometimes form, sometimes they disassemble around topics of interest. So on this list are a couple of newer program work teams. The 4-H STEM program work team has been around for at least 25 years under lots of different names, but a lot of the same people. Risk and Thriving in Adolescence is a relatively new program work team, as is the Youth in Nature and Outdoor Education. So if any of these areas are of interest to you, it's a great way to network with others that are working in those areas and get connected to some people either from campus or off campus, depending on where you are. So I want to thank everybody for participating today. This is the last, I mentioned before, this is the last in the series of Campus County Connection webinars for the end of this, I'll say, semester. We'll be starting up again in September, so we'll be looking for topic areas that you'd like to see presented. Ideally, there's a situation where there's some research and programs happening here on campus, and some examples of how those are really on the ground and running within counties. So an ideal situation is something that has both of those components and can be shared. We like to schedule at least one a month. Sometimes other topics crop up and we have more than one a month. So if you have thoughts about that, you can send them to me, Celeste Carmichael, cjc17@cornell.edu. And I think that is about it. Yeah, I will go ahead and send the links to those of you, to anybody who has registered. I have your name and address information, and I'll go ahead and send the links and the slides to you as well. Thanks so much for participating.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
And John and Linda and Ileana, if you want to stick around for just a minute, and we can just chat for just a second. We'll let folks file off.
So for anybody to participate, if they haven't pre-registered, do they have to register when they come in?
No, they don't have to.
It looked like that's what they were trying to do.
I pre-registered because I registered for the last one.
Right.
There's a bunch of them on there, but it asked me for registration stuff when I tried to log in.
No, so the registration is through our CCE registration site, and the registration on a WebEx is.
When he clicked on join,
I think.
Yes, you're required on an event